and welcome to the very first rendition of I'm LSM's Only Hope, potentially name title. I'm here with LSM's CEO, Trevor Emerson, who just so happens to be one of the biggest Star Wars fans I know. So we're here to talk today about the franchise, our thoughts, our favorite movies, our favorite moments. I'm going to kick it off by saying, Trevor, when did you know you were in love with Star Wars?
Yeah, so shockingly, I'm only like 26 years old, at least in the way that I look. But somehow I was alive in the 80s when the Star Wars movies came out. And when I remember I was probably about 7 years old, maybe 6 or 7 years old, and we got the VHS tapes because I wasn't quite old enough to go to the theaters. My older brother was. But we got the VHS tape. So somewhere in the mid 80s, I started watching Star Wars with my older brother, with my dad, and just loved it. And then I remember every single time I was sick from school, like whenever I would be sick from school as like a second or third or fourth grader, Star Wars marathon. I mean, I'm starting them from start to finish, just laying there all day, watching it. And I got to a point where, I mean, I could almost recite the entire movies like line by line. And so yeah, so from there I was really excited. And when I got a little older, I realized probably early teens, I realized that there was this whole book universe out there in the 90s that they started to publish, and I had no idea. And then they started to bring on some video games and stuff like that in the future. And I got obsessed with all that stuff. I thought the books were incredible. I thought it really carried the story accurately of like Luke and Leia and Han and what they were like, and everything carried through and gave them new challenges and new things that went on, which were really awesome. So yeah, I'd say from early age
From the
till now.
start.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
That's the thing with Star Wars is every time I talk about it with someone, there's always like this magical moment where people were like, "Oh my God." Most of the time, it has to do with Empire. Empire Strikes Back, was just like historical and one of the biggest plot twists in cinema, and everyone remembers it. Even if you don't love Star Wars, you remember it. It's too iconic. It's so larger than life. So to have like these movies that are kind of just infamous, it's crazy to me that there are people I meet who've never seen it, and I get so excited. I'm like, what do you mean you've never seen the Star Wars movie?
I
So
know.
in that regard, if you were to show someone Star Wars, what order of movies do you like to go in?
Yeah, I think it's really important to start with like Phantom Menace and go from there, and then also make sure that you show them Rogue One before A New Hope. I mean, like really try to make it chronological, because the reality is for the first six movies, and I guess you include Rogue One, it's the story of Anakin Skywalker. I mean, that's the
Mhm.
story. The story is about Anakin. And then becoming Darth Vader, and then what that means in his family and his son and his daughter and like all this stuff. So you want to make sure they get a good sense of like, okay, this was the origin story for Vader and origin story. So that's how I like to do it. I mean, obviously, the way I grew up was not that way. So you got in the middle, but definitely have them do that. And then I would almost encourage them to not watch the Disney movies and just read
Just hang
books
out.
after that, and just be like, okay, I love Star Wars. I don't want them to like love Star Wars and be obsessed with it like I was and get it so into it, and then be like, wait a minute, these Disney movies don't make any sense based on what I just saw.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's different. Like I think a lot of the younger generations, Disney is kind of like what they're familiar with too. Like when I was 15, The Force Awakens had come out, so I was in high school. I have previous Star Wars knowledge, so I wouldn't have gone to the movie if I didn't love Star Wars. And I don't know. I got kind of hopeful that the franchise would go somewhere new and exciting, but obviously disappointed in episode 9 with garbage, but
Hot garbage.
hot garbage. But I
Terrible.
mean, I do think it was nice to have that nostalgia for a bit, to get excited to go to the theaters to see a Star Wars movie, because I think Star Wars is like what saves cinema, to be honest with you. Like people used to line up overnight to go see a new Star Wars movie.
Oh
And I
yeah.
think we've just lost that magic.
It's sad because the magic was there, in my opinion, because of like the story was so relatable. It was really a family story. You know, it was a family story that became like kind of like a little space opera type of thing. But it always had that underlying. It was always kind of that underlying hero story too. That like something good was eventually going to happen. Even the worst person like Vader, you know, can redeem and be good and all that stuff. And so it made people feel good. Whereas, you know, in the Disney movies, it was like, I'm not really sure where that arc is. I'm not really sure, you know, like who's the
I
character I'm supposed to really care about here. All of a sudden, Rey is a Palpatine. I don't get it. Like, it just didn't make any sense.
Yeah, there was no hopeful ending, especially for her character. I know they want to do another franchise with Rey, and I honestly think they would have to retcon everything they did previously to make it work. Because
Yeah.
why would she go to Tatooine? How would she
Yeah.
know to go to Tatooine
Yeah.
and bury Luke's lightsaber in the place he wanted to leave? It just made no sense. It felt too nostalgia bait, and it was just not good. But beyond Disney.
Mhm.
Which is your favorite Star Wars film or piece of media? Because you read the books and play the games.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good one there. So I'm gonna say just in general, favorite of all time's got to be Empire Strikes Back for me. But but if I'm going second place, I'm going the Knights of the Old Republic video games, like
Hmm.
one and two. So the original Knights of the Old Republic, and then the Sith Lords Knights of the Old Republic after that. Amazing video games, like unbelievable, such a cool story. Like Darth Revan is awesome. Like the reveals that you get, everything through that game is fantastic. So I got to go put that at like right below my love for Empire, because I love those games, love those video games.
Yeah, it's a tough choice when you bring in those other pieces of media because I like that like Knights of the Old Republic have nothing to do with like the Skywalker saga and just tells its own story. And
Yeah.
it works because the Star Wars universe itself is just so interesting. Like the politics, the planets, how people live, how the different jobs you could have.
hmm It's such a rich, yeah. There's so much rich content there and things to explore, which is again, which was probably why it was so like vexing that things didn't go better afterward, because there's so much there. Like there's so much cool stuff that you know that they could play off of, and you know, for somebody like us who we love more than just the movies, like we love the books, we love the video games, we love like all those things. We're like jonesing for all this really cool stuff to come out. We want the public to know. I want like a big movie like based on the Knights of Old Republic game, so like the mass public can get in there and be like, oh my gosh, this story is really cool.
Yeah. Did you see actually in Star Wars news this morning? I saw they announced a Darth Maul series.
Okay, like for Disney Plus,
Yep.
I got a bone to pick with Darth Maul. So
Ooh,
the
let's get into it.
yeah, so first of all, absolutely phenomenal character. When you first saw him in so you were probably too young, but when the Phantom Menace was going to come out in theaters, I mean, that
Mhm.
was the all-time buzz ever. I mean, people were losing it over this movie coming out. And the trailer, like the original trailer with the Duel of the Fates music, and like you saw Darth Maul in a double-bladed light. I mean, it was blowing our minds. I mean, I think I was 20 years old, and so, I mean, I was obsessed. And then the movie comes, the first like 5 minutes of that movie are incredible. You're like, oh my gosh, it's Jedi, and they're wrecking it's so cool. And then
Yeah.
you get like 2 hours of Jar Jar Binks, and you're like, what happened? Like, what is this? It started off so good, and then you finally get to Darth Maul. I'm like, if you could have put 30 more minutes of screen time about Darth Maul, that episode
Mhm.
one could have been one of the greatest movies ever. But it needed more Darth Maul. He was so cool and so underutilized.
He was very mysterious. I know they brought him back in the Clone Wars
Yes.
series, so you got to learn more about his character and his race, essentially. So I
Yep.
think it'll be cool if they do it right to do a series on like almost like what they did for the Mandalorian about like let me know more about his culture and like where did he come from? How does he operate? Because he's like a true Sith. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that they didn't give him a redemption arc per se either. Like they just
yeah,
made him kind of evil the whole time, which was good. Like that was true to character. Not everybody needs to be a redemption. Like
yeah,
his final thing was going and finding Obi-Wan in Tatooine and trying to kill him and trying to fight him.
yeah.
Well, he just happened to lose that battle, but that was good. Like it wasn't like, oh, now he's this nice guy or something. It's like, no, he's bad. It's good. It's good for him to be bad.
I think people who've played Knights of the Old Republic have more of this knowledge of like we've never had like a Star Wars piece of media like film or TV that really shows like how crazy the Sith really are. Like you see them
Right.
in like Phantom Menace, you see Darth Maul, but then he's gone, and then you see Darth Vader and Palpatine, but they don't really go hardcore because they're like Sith, but not fully. And we've never had a series that just shows like that, like Sith have their own creed. They like live in pain and suffering and like all this like edgy stuff. So like while you have all these series to talk about like the Jedi and how great they are, you never really have the Sith to fully be themselves and show how crazy their lore goes.
I've been saying this for years. I think a movie that would blow the box office up would be a rated R Darth Vader movie where
It
you
would.
you get Vader from right at the end of Revenge of the Sith, and then up to or like right before A New Hope, all his exploits and shenanigans that he was doing during that time, and like really showing him being the evil person that he was, in that time frame.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't there a comic or a book about his castle? He like has a castle on like
Mhm.
Mustafar.
Oh
Like
yeah,
I want to know more about that. That's
yeah.
cool.
And it's built on like a giant Sith, like relic slash, like it was a stronghold for the Sith. Like it was a
Yeah.
fortress that he made out of that stronghold, and it like fuel. Yeah, he like does a lot of like Sith meditation and things like that in there, which is really cool. That'd be cool to see, and and also just be cool to see him getting hardcore like on screen and really being who he was.
I know a lot of people had that moment in Rogue One when he returned and everyone was like, yeah, like at least people
Oh,
who were fans of, the Sith and the
oh
bad
yeah.
guys. But yeah, I think it's interesting that they have brought Anakin's character back in like Ahsoka.
Hmm.
Um, but they never really expand upon the after, like after he like Anakin's dead kind of mentality. They just show like glimpses of like, oh, remember who he used to be, but we
Hmm.
don't they never go past that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So that would be cool. I don't know if I think it's too risky maybe for Disney to do that, but man, I think just
I
like
mean
Deadpool,
they bought Marvel, so who knows?
yeah, I mean just like Deadpool Wolverine went crazy at the box office. I think an R-rated Vader would be, and you got a lot of Palpatine in that one too, like that you kind of see in both of them being super bad. That would be awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Pivoting, I'm assuming I'm going to take a grand assumption that Darth Vader is your favorite Star Wars character, but is that
No,
true?
no, I don't think he's my favorite. I think my favorite is a toss up between Jason Solo, who is
Hmm.
a character in the novels, who I love. He becomes Darth Caedus, and he's like a really interesting, complicated, uh, really like badass Jedi that turns into a Sith. And his sister Jaina has to kill him at the end, which is a incredible storyline, which I wish they would have done in the movies because it would have been new characters but still relatable and like all that stuff, and it would have been really cool. So I really like him, and I really like Luke. I mean, I like Luke. I like Luke, especially book Luke, like expanded universe Luke. I do not like Disney Last Jedi Luke, and I don't like that one, but I love the idea and the character of Luke Skywalker. Plus, I was a kid. I was a little kid when I started watching these movies. So like for me, being interested in the hero was a big thing.
Right, right. I mean, you had a lot of underdogs too with like Han Solo and like all the fun side characters too. So it's interesting to hear because I feel like people have very strong opinions about their favorite Star Wars characters. They're like, no, I only like Palpatine or the
Yeah.
Sith, and it's like, okay, well, the good guys do have their moments. Like Leia, I love beyond just Leia. I love Carrie Fisher as a person. So getting invested in her life made me more interested in Leia's character because she put a lot of elements of herself within her performance, and she doctored a lot of the scripts. So I always was fascinated with Carrie Fisher and how she could take a look at the script and be like, absolutely not, we're not doing this.
Hmm. She lived a super interesting life, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, without those big three, the movies are not, the whole thing falls apart. I mean, Luke, Han, and Leia are everything. But okay, so I told you, what are your like top? Let's go top five. What's your top five Star Wars things? So I said Empire, and then the video games. Then I think right below that, I would put the Clone Wars uh, TV
The
show, like the
series.
Clone Wars series. I thought it was amazing. Really love that. And then I really like Revenge of the Sith. I think that's a great one. And I think Mandalorian season 1 and 2 were really,
Mhm.
really strong also.
I was Return of the Jedi will always be my number one, just because I think it's the perfect end. Like whenever you watch a trilogy, sometimes they just don't know how to end it, and Return of the Jedi, excuse me, knew how to end it. It was hopeful. It was conclusive. The fight scenes were amazing. My favorite character, Boba Fett, shows up in there. Like, I love Return of the Jedi. Below that, though, I would put Revenge of the Sith. That was the first Star Wars movie I ever saw, and I loved it. I'm a sucker for romance, so the romance between Padme and Anakin really invested me into the series, and I was like, well, what happens after? And then
Mhm.
you watch the main series. I just love it. I love like the tragedy of Anakin and Padme. It's just beautiful. And then I put the Clone Wars for sure. I loved Ahsoka. I loved to see her growth between her and Anakin. And then again, it's that character arc of Anakin turning, and how do you deal with this? How did the people you leave behind react to that?
Mhm.
So that's four. My fifth one is gonna probably throw you off, but I have to be real, raw, and true. Um, episode this The Last Jedi is my five,
Okay.
and the reason is I really liked the direction they were going with the idea that anyone could be a Jedi. Obviously, that was ruined in the last series, but I really got excited in the theater when Rey and Kylo Ren were fighting. I was like, wow, we finally have the dark and the light like together for once, fighting, this greater cause to figure out what if we made something new? What if we weren't Sith? What if we weren't Jedi? What if we were something in between? And obviously the writing didn't go the way I wanted it to, but I did get excited in the theater when I saw it, and I'll just never forget going there and getting so hyped when the lightsaber cut through Snoke. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I think that movie did have some good moments. I couldn't get over the in my mind the character assassination of Luke. I couldn't deal with that. But other than that, like other than making Luke this like sad old man who like gave up on everything, which is completely contrary to everything that we ever knew about him. Um, Other than that, and other than also Leia flying magically through space, which I thought was nuts. It did, it did have some good moments, and I do think that Rey and Kylo, that was their best movie. Like I
Yeah.
liked them in that movie better than I liked him in the other ones.
Yeah, no, that to me was a strong character build for both of them, and it made me excited to see where those characters went. And obviously, nine tarnished it, but I got hopeful to be like, oh, maybe we are starting something new. Especially afterwards when Kylo's like, I want you to join me, and not necessarily like join the First Order, but let's figure out like, what are we gonna do? Because Rey with Luke, she's like realizing the Jedi aren't all it's cracked up to be, and then you see Kylo Ren who realizes the Sith aren't all they're cracked up to be. So I was really hoping for that gray Jedi movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's lots of examples in the expanded universe and things like that of like kind of gray Jedi, and they're interesting. Like they're interesting characters for sure. So I think one thing I think about, which is cool, is like so. Uh, we work for an advertising agency. Obviously, one of my objectives has always been um, to have fun, to build up people, to explore everyone's interests and things like that. So I really love I love this series, I love this content, and I love the fact that we're going to be coming up with more. And I just also have to say that that is one of the better Princess Leia outfits I've ever seen. It's fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, the buns. So give it up for the buns. They're
Hmm.
huge.
Hmm. It's great.
Yeah, no, I love that we can just nerd out about whatever we want. I mean, Star Wars is something so iconic, and marketing is involved with it. I mean, without marketing, you would never know about Star Wars in the modern era. But it's just nice to be able to sit down and be like, yeah, this is what we're interested in, and here's why.
Hmm. Absolutely. And I mean, I'd love, I mean, hopefully we get some engagement, right, on this too. I mean, it's a big opinion based thing. People have strong opinions about Star Wars because they love it so much, and people are some people are very passionate about how they love the new Disney direction. Some people like it, right? Some people absolutely hate it. Some people think that like the first couple movies are overrated or something. So I mean, everybody's got their opinion. But I think one thing I think is cool is if we can bring some awareness to like some of the other stuff, like the video games or like the books or those kind of things. I haven't played a whole lot of the ones with Cal Kestis, the new.
Yeah, I haven't either. I've heard
Yeah,
really good things though.
I have too. Maybe we need to make that like a homework assignment for ourselves. We need to go play those video games because they're
All
supposed to
right, follow
be.
us on LSM Twitch and
Yeah,
watch us play.
yeah, yeah, exactly. We get on there and start playing those games because they're supposed to be really really cool. Actually, good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, if people do watch this, leave a comment. Let us know your hottest Star Wars take. My hottest Star Wars take is Jar Jar Binks is not that bad.
That is a hot take.
That's a hot take.
That is a hot take. Okay, I'll give. Let me see. My hot take would be. I think. I think Ahsoka is one of the top five best lightsaber duelists um,
That is a
that
hot
there
take.
is, and I
Yeah.
think that's really saying a lot because they showed her getting bested by a Jedi that, in my opinion, should not have bested her recently in her series. I didn't agree with that. But just, I mean, being trained by Anakin, she has fought Darth Vader in the Rebels series. She survived. I mean, like which is not something many people can say outside of like Obi-Wan. And so I'd put her right up there. I'd put her right up there with like Windu, obviously Luke. I mean Luke,
Right.
especially book Luke. Book Luke, there's no book Luke's a god basically. Like he reached God
Untouchable.
he reached God tier status in the books, so he kind of doesn't count. He beats everybody. But like Mace Windu, Yoda, Obi-Wan, and Anakin, even Sidious, I guess. But I'd put Ahsoka right up there. Like I think she can hold her own with just about anybody, including Plo Koon and all these different. Don't try to if people do comment, don't try to out nerd me. I'll come back. I know it all. I'm just saying, Ahsoka's right up there.
All right. That's I get it. I see that. I follow that argument. I agree.
Yeah, she's a badass, especially when it comes
Yeah.
to dueling.
Yeah, no, she's had some really great battles in the Clone Wars that I'm like,
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, she beat Darth Maul basically. I mean,
yeah,
yeah. So, and he beat Qui Gon. I mean, Darth Maul's no joke.
yeah, I know we're about to find out more in the series, I guess.
I know. I can't wait. That actually makes me that's cool. That's a good one for them to come up with. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I'm hoping it follows the same kind of Mandalorian season 1 and 2 kind of pact of like, let's just learn more about the culture and where he comes from. And
Yeah. Okay, so last one. Let's go with what's your most iconic moment? Now, what's the moment of all Star Wars that stands out to you as like this is the most iconic for you, for you?
for me, this is so funny. I quote it all the time. When Anakin is with Padme and he goes, "I don't like the sand. It's coarse and rough and gets everywhere." I quote that on a day to day, just out of context. That's my iconic Star Wars moment.
That's awesome. I can guarantee you that one's unique. I don't think anyone else is going to pick that one.
Yeah,
Uh, I mean, I think the "I'm your father" thing, especially seeing that in the '80s, because there was no big media around, it wasn't like all this stuff. So it genuinely like shocked me. I mean, it was a genuine thing. Like to have that reveal was really cool. But I'll also say the two, the Vader hallway scene and the Luke hallway scene in the Mandalorian, especially because it'd been. We never really got to see like an actual prime Luke Skywalker. Like we saw
yeah,
him battle Vader and we know the context behind some of that, but we never really got to see him like be, a fully formed Jedi and basically be like Anakin, but a different version of someone that is that powerful. So that hallway scene in The Mandalorian was unexpected. I did not see it coming. Like when an X-wing pulled in and I saw the green lightsaber, I was like, "Oh snap!" Like there,
yeah,
Luke is here, and he just ran, and they did him justice too because like he cut through those guys like they were nothing, and that's how it should have been. Like he should have been able
yeah.
to go in there and wreck those guys and save the day. So I really liked that.
Very different from my answer, but yeah, I respect it.
I do like your answer though. That's especially being in Vegas. Sometimes the sand is coarse, gets everywhere.
It gets everywhere. I
Yeah.
hate it. I made this joke. I was in Disneyland one time, and the guy, I was Disney bound as Ray, and the guy had his thing. He said he was from Jakku, and I was like, "Oh, what's up, homie? We're both from Jakku." And then I made the joke. I was like, "Yeah, but I just hate the sand. It's coarse and rough and gets everywhere." The employee looked at me with like, he did not get it. He did not get that
Mhm.
reference at all.
And to think that's your most iconic. He didn't even get it. That's sad.
He didn't get it. I'm like, I guess you're not a real Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
Sorry. All right. Well, I think we kind of nerded out a little bit there.
I love it. I love it. And I'm particularly looking forward to a continued deep dive into all of the LSM team members' interests and things that they like, and particularly then seeing you uh,
Dress up.
dress up in the outfits for their interests. I think that's going to be really fun, and I hope people get interested in this and like it. And this is not about LSM. This is about me and Hope talking about something we really enjoy. So comment away and challenge us and tell us we don't know anything. Fine, that's cool. We'll respond and tell you what we think.
Yeah, prepare for me to defend Jar Jar. I will. I'll go to bat.
Man, that is an aggressive defense. Good luck with that. I can't defend Jar Jar.
I can. All right. Hopefully, in the next one, we'll be with Katie. Really want to talk about Outlander.
That'll be exciting, especially because I know nothing about it. So I'll learn a lot on that one.
Yeah, she definitely knows more than me, so I will also learn a lot.
All right. Well, if you're our only hope, I think we're in good hands.
All right, over and out.